Our September 12th, 2023 Board of Education meeting. Can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So before we begin tonight, I wanted to offer a moment of silence in tribute to those who were killed in 9/11 and for those that continue to pass as a result of 9/11 illness. If you'd please join me to honor those for a moment. Thank you. Thank you. For tonight, to approve our agenda, before we do that, I want to offer to the board, I understand there might be an opportunity for board members that would like to amend tonight's agenda. Do I have interest in doing that? Put it out there to the floor.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So I'll ask for a motion to amend tonight's agenda. May I get a motion to amend tonight's agenda? Rob, second. Jim?
Just discussed.
Oh, but you had to say that? Did you say it?
All in favor? Okay. So we have a 7-0. So Stephanie, tonight, under the opportunity for board members, or really under our, let me just go over this real quick. That appears under our, opportunity for board members, right?
No.
So
No,
we're,
should be discussion at the end of the meeting.
excuse me, discussion?
Discussion at the end of the meeting.
Discussion at the end of the meeting.
Yeah.
We're going to add turf fields to the discussion at the end. Okay. All right, continue forward. So let me get approval for tonight's agenda. May I get a motion for tonight's meeting? First, Katie. Second, Rob. All in favor? 7-0. Okay, Mr. Poole for the superintendent's report. Next up.
Thank you, Mr. Sheridan. Good evening. Welcome, everybody. We had a fantastic opening to the school year. Thanks to our staff, our students, our parents. Just a great start, a great opening day where we had our staff back the day before students arrived. And I want to give a shout out to 3 of our luminary alumni that came and gave some inspiring words to the school district on staff conference day. Lila Stratman, Ross Burkhart, and Kevin Mann, who were all here in the early 1970s as leaders in the school district, creating so many of the programs that are sustained today. And they offered a lot of inspirational words to all of us here in the school district. And were inducted as the first inaugural inductees into the Shoreham-Wading River Alumni Hall of Fame. So congratulations to the 3 of them and thank them for coming. I hope we see more of them across the school year and other alumni as we work through the 50th, celebrating the 50th anniversary of the school district. Over at the high school, congratulations to the following students who have an incredible honor to be selected to the NYSSMA All-State Senior Killian O'Reilly Symphony Orchestra for cello, Senior Lucas Portriz Symphonic Band, I'm sorry Lucas if I got that wrong, Symphonic Band for double bass, Senior Robert Tackey, who is here this evening. Congratulations, Robert. Mixed chorus for bass 2. And alternatives are Junior Yiya Hugh for violin, Senior James Benetti for viola, Junior Alicia Minty for violin, and Senior Dankai Zhang for violin. So congratulations to all those students, well represented in the NYSSMA All-State competitions. For the high school, new student orientations took place the morning of Wednesday, September 6th. Those are for students that are brand new to the high school, and individual grade level meetings have been happening across the week, with seniors are meeting tomorrow on Wednesday. The fall athletic season at the high school is underway with teams competing over the last 2 weeks. We've had some early success, so I'm looking forward to the fall playoff season. And middle school teams began practices last week with the contest beginning next week, so we're in full swing. Over at Prodell, they had a great start to the school year as well. Yesterday morning, September 11th, middle school students and staff were greeted with a beautiful American flag display. A string quartet comprised of students led by their orchestra teacher, Fred Volz, filled the halls with soft patriotic music as everyone arrived dressed in red, white, and blue, as they additionally remembered the tragic events of 22 years ago, September 11th, and honored the heroes with a moment of silence. On Thursday, September 14th, Prodell is going to host their annual Welcome Back assemblies for all of their grade level. Wading River had a great start as well as students arrived with opening day's assemblies. And I'm not sure, I know when they arrived, it was either Indiana Jones, Star Wars, or Marvel. Some inspiring music was playing as students arrived for the first day of school. They had a great first day. They too over at Wading River had a moment of silence for 9/11, thanking first responders and wearing red, white, and blue for the day. Additionally, at Miller Avenue, another great start. At Miller Avenue, they had some wonderful kindergarten orientation. We welcomed 142 new kindergarten students who will be graduating in the year 2036.
That
So,
leaves a mark.
I wish those 142 students the best of success here in Shoreham-Wading River. Students at orientation had a chance to ride the bus, take a tour of the school, and hear a story by Mrs. Smith about when she was in kindergarten. And finally, tonight we have a couple of presentations. One on job shadowing, which is a program we put under review upon the request of one of our students in the high school last spring, who's here this evening. We'll present that with Mr. Piazzi this evening. And then a middle school English language arts curriculum update. The last 2-3 years, we've been working on revising and updating the middle school English language arts curriculum. So I welcome Ms. Wallbauer. Some of our teachers are here tonight as well, and Ms. Piscardi from the middle school is here tonight. And I know our consultant staff developer is here, Sarah Cordova is here tonight as well, who helped us with this work in the school district, so looking forward to that. So, and that concludes my update. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Poole. I did want to just echo Mr. Poole's comments. What a great start to the school year. Thanks again to all the staff, teachers, everyone who's made this possible. And when the board doesn't get any complaints, we're doing really well, right? So it's been a good start. But thank you again to the administration as well for making that happen. Like Mr. Poole said, tonight we have a few items just for reports and reviews. I don't know if we have any statements from residents, so Stephanie, anything? Okay, just so I bring it up. Okay, reports and reviews. So first will be our update from Ms. Nicole Wallbauer, who is our Director of Humanities, right? Should I go first with that? Okay, good. Just checking. We're going to get that ELA update. We're looking forward to hearing from you. Okay. Absolutely. And I do want to welcome the Prodell, our teachers that are here, and obviously Ms. Picardi. Thank you for being here.
Hi, good evening. Okay.
We're good.
The slides ready? Excellent, thank you. All right, so happy to be here this evening, especially in a library for this presentation. Happy to be surrounded by books. So good evening, and thank you very much for this opportunity to provide this overview of the grammar, reading, and writing workshop curriculum project that we embarked on back in 2019, actually. I also want to thank some of the ELA teachers who are here tonight, Ms. Constant, Ms. Geronda, who I think is on her way, and Ms. Schiffman for being here to share their experiences and to be recognized for their own hard work. Okay. So when I first began my tenure here in Shoreham-Wading River, I knew it was a district priority to bring the workshop model up to Prodell Middle School. At the same time, we needed to do the work of aligning our middle school program to the next generation ELA standards. That year, we became familiar with the new standards, and the following school year, Mr. Van and I began meeting with the team of 6th, 7th, and 8th grade ELA teachers to explore how to best shift their current units to a workshop model aligned to the next generation standards. Some of the teachers and I were familiar with the work of an amazing and highly sought-after staff developer named Sarah Cordova. So I met with Sarah, and we began devising a plan to support and guide the teachers in this work. We were lucky enough to be in person with students and teachers every day of the 2020-2021 school year, while we met remotely and behind the scenes on the grammar work, as you will see later in the slides. The grammar was followed by writing units in 21-22, which was then followed by finishing up the reading units just this last school year. This year, the plan is to provide some check-in support at Prodell while we shift gears toward bringing the ELA work up to the high school level. With the new English Regents on track to roll out in 2026, we will have our 9th through 11th grades more than ready for success. All of our planning at SWR takes into consideration the district's strategic plan goals and mission, vision, and values. But with our ELA work at Prodell, we had some specific literacy goals in mind too, as you can see here. To highlight a couple, we really wanted to bring life into our classrooms and students with the lifelong practices of readers and writers. It was also important that we establish common language, common expectations, and common assessments so that the students would have similar experiences from year to year, and so that the teachers would know exactly where the students were coming from and then exactly where they were going. Finally, we knew we were working with an experienced group of teachers who had a lot of expertise and creative ideas, so we wanted to capitalize on that through constant collaboration and professional conversation. I believe that culture will only grow and thrive. The teachers were very invigorating. The lifelong practices of readers and writers are a very important part of the next generation ELA standards, and really was the foundation for all of our planning. We wanted to create or revise our units to be more student-centered, where students had more choice and were encouraged to make connections and to communicate their thoughts and ideas by thinking deeply through speaking, listening, and writing. We wanted them to read and write for learning and for pleasure, and to persevere through challenging texts or through all the stages of the writing process, building stamina. Students were encouraged to enrich their language and vocabulary through fun grammar, reading and writing mini lessons, and then had ongoing opportunities to analyze mentor texts and models to enhance their literacy skills. All of this being a wonderful, natural outcome of a workshop model approach. Here you will see our scope and sequence for the Prodell Middle School reading and writing units. This, for the teachers, old and new, contains links to all of the units and supporting materials, so it is a very user-friendly curriculum guide. The outline will soon be posted to our district's website. What we accomplished. So for those of you who like numbers, collectively, this was astounding. We wrote 360 pages of lessons. I counted this all up. I really did. We created folders of resources and formative assessments for 20 units. We created 24 grammar slideshows and 20 pre and post on-demand assessments. And with that, I wanted to introduce Sarah to say a few words about the teachers and the work we did together.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me here. First, I want to say thank you to the two of you who have continuously supported this work and me and the teachers since 2019. It's been an absolute pleasure. I love, love, love coming to Prodell, and I've been to lots of board meetings, and I have not said that. So I really, really love coming here. As Nicole mentioned on the timeline, my work started in the fall of 2019, and while the students and the teachers were in building, I was not. All of the work we did that year was remote, and the teachers were in masks, the kids were in masks, they were distance. I think Kristen's classroom was in the Prodell library, and they really had every reason to be distracted and overwhelmed, the teachers, with what was going on. And they were exactly the opposite when this work began. They were flexible, which is ridiculous considering what was going on in our world. They were engaged, they were smart, creative, willing to collaborate with each other and with me, someone who they had never met in person. They really are an incredible group of educators, every single one of them. This is just a sampling of the incredible people I get to work with at Prodell. But in the hardest year of education, they managed to start writing 360 pages of curriculum. And once all of the regulations were lifted and I was able to come into Prodell, I got to meet students. And every time I have been in a classroom at Prodell, the students have been kind and respectful and eager to learn and interested in what we are doing. Every time I have left a classroom, I have always said to the teachers that the reason that those students are so kind and eager has very little to do with me and the 42 minutes that I'm in there, and much more so to do with these teachers and the family members in this community who help to make those students who they are. I just want to, again, thank you for allowing every year that I have been able to be a small part of this work to happen. Every time I go into that building, every session, every year, every moment, the teachers come excited, prepared, and willing to collaborate. That is not always the case. And so I just really wanted to shine a light on the incredible educators, the ELA teachers who are at Prodell Middle School. They are the reason that all of those numbers that Nicole quoted happened. I have very, very little to do with it. They are the reason that all of this change has been able to happen. And Nicole mentioned that document, The Lifelong Practices of Readers and Writers. It is the most, in my opinion, the most important part of the Next Generation Standards, because what it asks educators to do is to not only encourage our students to love reading and writing and language inside the walls of their classrooms, but it helps them to recognize the power and purpose of reading and writing and language outside of the walls of the classroom. And that's what these middle school teachers and Nicole has we're not done yet, but that is what is happening. So there's incredible work happening inside the classroom, and then because of what they do on a daily basis, it's now filtering to their actual lives outside of school. So thank you for letting me be a part of this. I am really proud to work alongside such incredible educators.
Appreciate those thoughts and observations.
She's always a very hard act to follow. So on to the rest of the work that we accomplished together. This is a little dive into the grammar work that we did. Thank you, Sarah, again, and thank you to the teachers. We created this scope and sequence, about 10 to 12 units per grade. What's interesting about this is that very strategic choices were made by the teachers about which skills fell under which grade levels, how we would scaffold the learning, which conventions would spiral, with emphasis on how the conventions become more complex. And then this was all reinforced through the writing units at key time frames. For example, teaching into quotes while learning how to write dialogue in a narrative piece. So we also accomplished or established a common rubric to rate the students' progress and the mastery on the different conventions. So a lot of fun. The format template for all of these grammar lessons was to be like a grammar detective. So our mini lessons were somewhat modeled off of Jeff Anderson's Patterns of Power. That's a similar model that we actually use at the elementary level, so it fits nicely into this workshop model. We begin each unit with the concept, some direct instruction in what is and why the concept's used, and then an example. The units then include a fun sample to hook the students and get them noticing and wondering. Again, that's where that joy, the lifelong practices kind of comes in, some wordplay. Uh-oh. All right. The units contain engaging video clips also, music and multimedia wherever we could find them, to engage all of our learners and all of the different intelligences, such as this Schoolhouse Rocks throwback on busy prepositions. I'm not going to play it with you, but or date myself or all of you.
I was looking forward to it.
But wherever we could, we incorporated and encouraged the use of Edpuzzle, Grammaropolis, vocabulary, no red ink, all for practice and reinforcement. Oh, Ricky. Okay, sorry, thank you. Here's another example of the use of multimedia and how the students needed to take ownership over what they noticed, what they noted, and then they were able to create their own sentence using that convention. In this case, it was, again, a prepositional phrase, but again, any way we could make it engaging and fun for the students. Here, throughout all of these grammar units, the students look through familiar texts and search for concepts. They could do this independently, in partners, in groups. We made a lot of use of authentic texts as much as possible, which was not your old school dittos where you had kind of that list of 10 unrelated sentences. We really made an effort to make it very authentic, and that was the core of our grammar instruction. So here are the students and some of the images of the students working through some of the demo lessons that Sarah mentioned a little earlier, actually zooming in. You can see her on the screen zooming in. And then we were lucky enough the following year to be in person. As I said a little earlier, it was a little challenging to plan together, but we definitely made it work. The teachers were incredible. Here you can see the teachers looking on to see the grammar units in action, to observe and learn from Mrs. Cordova alongside of the students in a lab setting, which again is a way to support the workshop model. And now, after our grammar was all set, we moved on to the writing work. Here you can see the students working on grade 8 poetry. Notice that they are turning and talking to one another, and that the teachers are there meeting and conferring with students at their desks. Notice the student work on the walls, the graphic organizers and anchor charts up in the room for support, for planning and for student independence. After the first writing unit, we surveyed the students in Google form to gather their feedback. This is what some of Mrs. Schiffman's 8th graders had to say, so thank you for Mrs. Schiffman for sharing this with us. We had one student who said, "I enjoyed the editing stage the most." Could you imagine you would ever hear that? Oh my gosh. "I enjoyed the editing stage the most because I like to look back on my work to see what I have done. I love being able to fix things that I might have messed up and understand what I did wrong." An 8th grader said that. Oh boy. Another one, "I enjoyed publishing the most because I liked reflecting on what I wrote. It was satisfying to see seeing it all done and to be ready to be graded. I put so much effort into it and it definitely paid off." And then finally, one more quote, "I enjoyed the selecting stage the most because I liked narrowing down my options." Again, you see how this reflects the standards, the choice, the student-centered aspect of it. "I also like getting other people's opinions of what would be a good idea to write about." So again, that opportunity for conversation and peer-to-peer work. Some examples of the writing units. Again, all of these units were aligned to the standards, included mini lessons, models, anchor charts, organizers, all of the stages of the writing process, teacher, peer conferences, and even writing celebrations. Here are some examples of, or samples of student work on display, and also what was collected by the teachers. Throughout our professional development sessions, the teachers would often come together and discuss the progress of their students and share pieces for feedback and discussion, so we could kind of calibrate ourselves throughout the planning of these units. Here you can see some student notebook entries with some Post-it notes from the teacher who provides feedback and next steps for the students as they confer and assess their work. So again, very reflective process. Mrs. Richardson's 7th grader from last year, Zoe Kelvin, was kind enough to give us permission to share some of her excerpts from her own narrative fairy tale called Cinderella and the Stepsister. And I just pointed out a couple of the craft moves here that really makes her story so nice. The use of the powerful verb forced in her story, where most students, they often say, "She went," right? So again, intentionally choosing powerful words or strong verbs. Using complex sentence structures to lift the level of the writing. Again, this goes back directly to the grammar instruction that we were doing at the same time. How to, what is the difference between a simple, compound, complex sentence, and how can we add that to our own writing? Also, just some lovely imagery and descriptive language here at the end, wiping rags over different surfaces in a peaceful environment. Gives you a nice feel for the story. Here we have Mrs. Geronda's grade 6 student from last year, Marcos Eastman. Marcos was also happy to share a piece of his narrative, Battle for the Win. And again, notice the exciting hook he starts with at the start of the story and the sensory language he uses to draw the reader in. the use of similes, like a drum beat, and metaphors, the intentional varying of sentence types and lengths, and how his voice really shines through. Good luck. Kristen, unfortunately, couldn't be here to say a couple of words about Marcos and, in general, her experiences, and was also going to talk a little bit about the reading growth that she saw in the students. But I did hear her husband didn't make it back from work in time, so she couldn't leave the kids. But I can share that at another time. Examples of our reading units. Without the reading, the writing and the grammar could not have evolved as it did. So we wanted to hook the students' interest in reading with pre-reading lessons, such as the Getting Ready for Adventure stories. But they also wrote mini lessons and created anchor charts on a variety of reading skills to utilize in the workshop approach. Students would regularly read, identify a literary element, and then go and apply that to their own reading. Students had some choice in reading and ownership over the analysis. We used mentor texts, book clubs, and independent reading, but also kept time for some of our core literary whole class works, such as in 6th grade, excerpts from the play version of Dickens' A Christmas Carol, which culminates in a field trip to see the play at the Port Jeff Theater. And in grade 7, a favorite of everybody's, The Outsiders, which students always seem to really enjoy, especially learning about that groovy time period. And then in the 6th grade, here's an example again of some more anchor charts and skill building activities that we were able to build into our units. I really want to thank the district again and the Board of Education for supporting this initiative with the funding that we needed for adding books. We added furniture, a lot of paper, readers' notebooks, all of the things that we needed to shift to a true reading workshop model. And also thanks to the Purdell librarian, Mrs. Kalin, for her book selection support throughout this process. It's been really exciting to see the expansion of the teachers' classroom libraries and the enthusiasm of the students as they develop those lifelong practices. Ms. Constant was going to say a few words about the reading progress that her students made and the thoughts on this work as well.
Hello, good evening. As a teacher in the district for a long time, I have taught 2nd, 3rd, and 5th, and now I'm teaching 6th. And I've really gotten to teach and witness the progression of the reading and writing initiatives throughout the years. This past year, I had the privilege to work with the 6th grade team to write the reading curriculum and learn the writing curriculum. But as I was writing, all I kept thinking of is my 2nd graders, which I think I have one here. And all I kept thinking about was them and how they as readers were identifying the characters and what the characters were doing then, and how then in 3rd grade they took it a bit further to identify character traits that can describe their character that they were reading about. And as I kept thinking, all I kept thinking about was the 2nd graders to the 6th graders, like what a big, huge progression it's been, and how impressive it is. In just 4 years, students are not only discussing complex characters and life lessons and triumphs and tribulations, but they are looking at the conflicts and what type of conflicts the characters are fighting. If it's a person versus self, or a person vs society, or a person vs nature, then they have to provide text evidence and the reasoning to justify their answers. Readers are looking at what point of view the story is told by and how that impacts the storyline and the characters. They're looking at the underlying themes of text they are reading, which are very high-level skills in complex books or texts. I've witnessed my students write the most amazing things, whether it's just a brief post-it noticing or a full response to support what we're doing, or just a noticing when we're doing a read aloud. And then the writing part, as I was learning it, personal narratives will really take the shape. So 2nd grade, we always start with personal narratives, and through 3rd and 5th grade as well. And we learn to kind of like limit, instead of telling the entire story where you're telling a whole week's vacation about what they ate, went to bed, how they dressed, and so on and so forth, to transfer it into a smaller moment, which we're moving away from a watermelon-sized seed into a smaller moment. I'm sure you have heard that before. Then zoom in on telling the story from the beginning, middle to the end, and having giving detailed recounts of what happens by adding dialogue, sensory details, and figurative language, all while elaborating aspects of their story from 2nd to 5th. So then in 6th grade, we asked students to write a vignette. I know, sorry, I'm pressed. A vignette is a short piece of writing that does not have a beginning, middle, or end, but rather focuses on a specific moment in time and the details within it, expressing a mood. It can be about a setting, a mood, a character, an object. Vignettes don't conform to a narrative-like structure, but are more focused on visual details than the actual plot. So when you think of that task, you think, wow. But our 6th graders knocked it out of the park. So to say that I was proud and in awe was a complete understatement. I truly do believe that what we're doing here is magical, and thank you, Sarah, for all your help. I appreciate it, especially helping me through 6th grade. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. That was great.
What an investment in our district to have one of our teachers who's been here for so many years enter into this process with such a reflective process and all of that wisdom, the years and years of experience, and our students' growth in mind. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Constant. I can see this is an example of how they are overachievers. I asked for a couple of sentences, and she gave us a few pages, so very, very impressive. They really are. Your children are in good hands. So this is a picture of our final day together. We, again, want to just thank the students. You know, we know that the community is lucky to have such dedicated, bright, and creative teachers. Mr. Van, the main office team was so helpful. I mean, the logistics of trying to do all this, not very easy. Of course, we look forward to seeing how these lessons positively impact the learning for years to come. We're confident that we're inspiring lifelong readers and writers through these comprehensive and engaging units and through our student-centered workshop model approach to literacy instruction. Just briefly, some of the short and long-term anticipated long-term results. Overall, just joy in teaching and learning. I'm in the classrooms all the time. The faces, the smiles on the faces of the teachers and the students just really say it all. Our writing is also getting recognized. Those students who sat through these units and have now moved up into the high school, we've had recognition. There's increased numbers in our book clubs at the high school. The high school teachers have reported higher student interest in reading. We've actually experienced increased enrollment in the creative writing and journalism electives. Again, Juliana O'Neill and Emily Sherrill being recognized for their writing last year, so it's just amazing. And so where do we go from here? The plan is to move this ELA work forward. We're going to begin the work with Sarah and Sarah's guidance. She's going to stick with us for a little while longer to help us map out the work of the high school units, strengthening the alignment to the next generation ELA standards, as well as the vertical alignment of the units in a way that really builds on the Prodel work that we did. This will be, again, in good preparation. We planned it well to be ready for the new ELA regents, which kind of, again, rolls out in 2026. So this will definitely further enhance those key lifelong practices of our readers and writers, taking our students right through high school and beyond. So again, thank you so much for your time. I know it was a lot. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. And again, I want to thank the board and Mr. Poole for your support, the teachers for being here tonight, Mrs. Biscardi for being here tonight. Any questions?
I just had a question about our students' progress in terms of going from Prodel into the high school. As you begin this work, we don't have an honors program for our humanities, unfortunately. And so could you speak to a little bit about how this work may fill some of those gaps, and just with a student that might be more inclined to accelerate in humanities versus STEM, which we do have, how does this work speak to that student?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, moving toward a workshop model really meets the kids where they are. So whether they're a striving reader or writer, or whether he or she is an average reader writer or an above average reader writer, shifting toward a workshop model really meets the students where they are. And the mini lessons and the conferring that we do takes all students to the next level. So it's really a great way to differentiate to the different needs in the classroom. The peer-to-peer work as well is helpful with that. And then, of course, at the high school, Mr. Puglisi and one of our high school students is here. You know, they do have elective options. So like I said, very happy to see that the creative writing is expanding and the journalism program is expanding. You know, the speaking for impact broadcast, we're really excited about that. So lots of opportunities, too, in the high school compared to the middle school to test out those humanities skills.
Okay, thank you.
So Ms. Walbauer, oh, sorry.
Go ahead,
Go ahead.
please.
No, I think it's great that we have the scope and sequence for the middle school. What do you see as the greatest challenge maybe in terms of whether it's reading, writing, grammar? What was the area that you think the district needed to improve the most, or what do you see for teachers, things like that, just observations?
That's a good question. I don't think any one area was really drastically lacking in any way, and that is so evident in our Regents results, in our 3 through 8 results. I mean, we're always outperforming the region on both reading and writing. So I don't think there was any one area. I think we wanted to really look at it, again, holistically and through the lens of the standards and those lifelong practices, because what we were getting feedback from the teachers a lot was they're disinterested, or they lack the stamina, or they really, you know, they don't know how to take a piece from the beginning to the end, and they don't know what they want to read. So I think it was almost even less skill-based, but then more habits, those habits that we wanted to make sure we were really. There's always a dip in middle school. The kids are very excited about reading and writing through 5th grade. And those of you who have 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, I've been through it with my own boys. You often see that little dip of interest at the middle school level, and then hopefully it kind of picks up again at the high school. So we had that kind of that lens in mind throughout all of our work. The rest of it was just, you know, standards-based, skills-based, and I think that we were coming from a really good foundation. Our students had good skills, our teachers had good teaching skills. We just really wanted to kind of infuse those lifelong practices for readers and writers into what we were doing.
Thank you.
When you first started building the libraries in the middle school, I was so grateful. I'm just curious, so much about writing development is about exemplar texts and what they're reading. Are we building that around the genres of study that they're currently studying? So if they're looking at fairy tales, do they have options for independent reads that are pretty deep in terms of fairy tales in the room?
Yes, another good question. Definitely. I have to tell you, we were so excited when we were planning. We would make lists and lists and lists of books. And then we would decide on, okay, this book is going to be our mentor text. But guess what we did with the rest of those books? We got them anyway. Because we knew that they were great books, and we sprinkled them into this classroom libraries. So yes, they definitely have those additional texts to continue if they latch on to that genre. We know series work catches those kids, those striving readers. We have them built into the libraries, and we also have an amazing librarian who has been a really great support. So through the use of Sora and through the librarian and the collection she curates, because she even curates small book club collections that the teachers can use. So that's very helpful as well.
Does the schedule allow for any book club work in middle school, or is that challenging and not doable?
I believe every grade level has at least one book club built into the year, correct? Yes. Thank you, teachers. Yes. Yes. Yes, we kept room for that because we knew how valuable it was. That's that student choice piece, and the opportunity for students to speak peer to peer, so important. That's particularly what we're excited about bringing, into the high school even more and more, which I know I had the Kelly Gallagher's work up there, 180 Days, and Penny Kittle, but that's the type of approach that the teachers were even taking before we started this work. When I got here in 2018-19, Ms. Schiffman, Ms. Richardson, they had already started moving toward lit circles, book clubs. So I'm honestly, I'm saying we built on the expertise and the direction we were already kind of going in, and we're excited about continuing that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, just a quick, not questions, just thank you guys, because my son, or my student, just graduated, Prodell, and he was a student that wasn't really that interested. I was like, dragging paragraphs out of him for writing, and 8th grade comes and goes, and ELA was like he thrived, and it was the paragraphs just kept coming. So
That's great.
definitely saw the difference over the 3 years, and appreciate what you guys have been doing. So
Thank you for the feedback. That's great. Thank you.
else?
Thank you again. And
Thank you, Ms.
there's my
Mulhern.
email if you ever want to reach out. I also
Great.
left you, or can leave you with Sarah in case you want to reach out.
Really appreciate the update. Look forward to the future, moving this up to the high school now. Thank you. Thank you all. Yep, appreciate it. Okay. Next up, under reports and reviews, we're going to discuss the job shouting program. Mr. Palese.
Mr. Sheridan, Ms. Poole, thank you very much for this opportunity to be here tonight. I stand beside rising senior, actually senior technically.
Yes, senior, really.
Bobby Tackey.
There you go.
It was just last spring that Bobby and recent 2022 alum Eileen Sheridan brought an idea to myself and to Mr. Poole about creating a job shadowing opportunity. And what this opportunity really highlights is the power of collaboration. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to turn it over to Bobby for a couple seconds to talk about it a little bit from the student perspective, and then we'll kind of go through the nuts and bolts of it.
Great. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Bobby Tackey, a senior at here at Shoreham-Wading High School. And as a senior, I've been putting a lot of emphasis and effort into researching my future profession and career choice. And through those difficulties of trying to figure out what I want to do, I realized that there could be an opportunity for job shadowing through the school. So with my friend Eileen Sheridan, then senior and now alumni of the school, we decided to approach the district through Mr. Poole, the superintendent, and through the principals of the high school. And we pitched the idea of a job shadowing program. That program would be an opportunity for students like me, as upperclassmen of the high school, to have the opportunity to spend a day shadowing a professional in the local area or community to see if that particular profession would be something of interest worth pursuing in the future, or to possibly rule it out. And we want to make it clear that I think it would be a great opportunity for both students who are looking to go to college and who are looking to go into professions right out of high school. And I think that we can have opportunities to shadow professions in both. And I just think it would be a really great opportunity for upperclassmen like myself in the future to have that, to know going into college or into their profession what might interest them.
That's great. Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you, Bobby. So basically what this would be an opportunity for students to immerse themselves, yes, on a daily, one-off kind of basis, to find out firsthand what actually goes into any given profession. Students also often have kind of a misperception about, what does it mean to be this or what does it mean to be that? And until they actually see it in action, they really don't have the full flavor of what that might look like. So this would be a wonderful opportunity, as Bobby mentioned, to be able to achieve that. And it was a very well-spoken point. This is for all of our students, that it really stretches the gamut from students who are thinking about post-secondary, educational opportunities or joining directly into the workforce. Job shadowing would and could provide exciting reasons why students should apply themselves in school. if they want to be able to achieve and gain these positions, they gain a better understanding of what it takes to get there. And through those opportunities for collaboration and conversation, they have a real understanding. You know, we as parents know that we can have all those conversations that we want with our students about the jobs that we do. But when a stranger says it, all of a sudden, it rings a little bit different. So, so we definitely feel like this would be a great opportunity for students to hear from, as Bobby mentioned, either professionals within our community or in the surrounding area to find out, again, if this is something that they want to do or this is not what I want to do. We have started to outline this in our job shadowing toolkit, where we would have some protocols and procedures that will be finalized over the coming weeks and months if this proposal is approved. Like I said, we're still working through some of our final pieces. A couple things that we do know right off the top, that this would be a voluntary program, that students themselves would initiate the outreach into the communities to find the opportunities. This would not be something that would be required for all students. Certainly, any student could avail themselves of it, but it would be the student's responsibility to find these opportunities. We could certainly help them, but it would not be something where we would have just a simple Rolodex and say, well, call this person, call that person. It would really be on them to be able to do that. So in a very real sense, by establishing some guidelines and some protocols, students would have to be very serious about this, that they would be going into it with very clear and very dedicated intentions and not just looking for a day out of the classroom to go hang out somewhere. Before leaving our building, we would first review some very important pieces about job etiquette, phone etiquette, you know, how to speak to someone, how to create your resume packets, some do's and don'ts, how to present yourself, all the things that many of us had to learn the hard way, and we want to try and give them the opportunity to learn from our mistakes and hopefully not make them themselves. During this opportunity, there would be, again, some requirements for the student in order to, you know, kind of gain the full value of the opportunity. You know, what to look for, what are the questions that you want to ask the person or persons that you're shadowing. How can you really find out, you know, the nitty-gritty of what they're doing and what, you know, what does their profession entail. In the post, the student would be required to create a reflection paper, a thank you letter, and then one of the last pieces that we're talking about is how can we share this information out with peers? What can we do, you know, during their junior and senior year to lead conversations with their peers, either through home base or other opportunities where their knowledge could be shared out, you know, both regarding their individual experiences and also in building, again, these collaborative relationships with local businesses where hopefully we can continue to kind of grow these connections. So we would propose that only students with a 95% attendance rate would be eligible. So once again, the thing that would really kind of happen as a part of this is that what we are proposing is that juniors and seniors, twice during their junior year, twice during their senior year, would be able to have excused absence days for the purpose of this opportunity. But in order to be able to do that, they first have to have, you know, good standing in terms of their attendance. We certainly would not be advocating for students who have any significant, you know, behavioral issues. And like I said, it would be open. Okay, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Once per year for juniors and seniors, not twice. That's my fault. I apologize. Some final steps that we need to talk about are some releases in terms of the parent release. We would not be providing district transportation. This would be something that would need to be, you know, worked out by the student and their families. We would then turn around and present it to the students and share out to the families. So we do hope that that this proposal is met with positive affirmations and smiles, we definitely feel like this is something that would be very, very positive for our students and for our district. Any questions?
Can you just explain the host verification and evaluation and who's performing that in
Sure,
in
that would
district?
be the responsibility of the student to make sure that that this is a valuable opportunity. They would be involved in all that. Mr. Poole, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I think part of it would be the employer sort of circling a few on a Likert scale. Student was here on time. Student was here all day long. Student interviewed me. Some things like that, where the host is confirming the student was there and used the time accordingly.
Effectively.
Yeah, I guess my question was, who are we vetting the locations where they're going to make sure that they're, I won't say safe, or that is there a liability in the district sending kids to this?
I think that's really part of the release. It'll be treated as an excused absence, an academic excused absence for the student, almost along the lines of a collegiate visit or a trip to a museum or something like that. But it's an excused absence if the student meets the conditions of the job shadowing packet, which is the pre-work, the letters, the outreach, the work during it, and then the work afterwards. So before they are approved to go from the district, school counselors, high school administration will take a look at the packet. Is this something that they're going to do, that we approve of, that they would go, if they do all this, would high school principal approve it as an excused absence? And I'm certain that somewhere along the way, if a student is picking a business that any of us have any sense that is less than 5 stars, we might advise the student in that same way. I'm sure families will be a part of that process as well,
Yes.
as making sure that the business that they've selected is, and I do expect over time, although we're not, that there will be a general list of local places developed by student experiences that are receptive to this. I spoke with Bobby and Mr. Pleasy a couple weeks back last week, about a Zoom meeting. I know Bobby's working on a draft letter to send out to local businesses, and we're going to attach the job shadowing packet to it, and then offer them a Zoom meeting to really go through it with them and have them ask any questions, where I'll be on it, Bobby can be on it, and Frank can answer any questions that local businesses may have. So along the way, so there are some checks and balances along the way, and if a student has a bad experience, then certainly that would we'll keep note of that as well in a particular business. So if they didn't follow through in the right way.
So I applaud the effort. I think this is great, Bobby. Thank you for bringing this forward. I think it's a tremendous opportunity for students. I think of the collective experience of everyone on this board, just what we do on a daily basis as a job, and I look at what all you do out in the audience, right? I think it's great if kids have the initiative, come forward, decide that they want to go look at a particular type of career and decide if that's for them or not, and I think that's tremendous. I think anything we can do, I know it's at its infancy stages, I think anything we can do as a community, I'll say it out there to folks that are watching this tonight, that if there's an opportunity that they're a business owner or they're involved in a large company and think there's an opportunity for a student to shadow, I'd love them to come forward. Not that I'm trying to cause you more work, Mr. Palazzi, but I think it would be great if we could, as Mr. Poole said, have a vetted list at some point of employers that as students are thinking about a career maybe in healthcare, I'm just using that as an example, financial services, architecture, pick the education. Wow, there's a new one. So, give or take some things along those lines. I'm just saying that would be great for a student to have that choice and have the excused absence. I think just, again, it helps them with their career choices and what they're going to do next.
And I think in a small way, it may also help to at least buffer some of the brain drain that we're experiencing off the island. And if we can, show students that there are very real opportunities here, both, within our immediate community and within the surrounding community, that this is a viable place to be. It may not necessarily always be the easiest place. We know
Right.
it's challenging economically, but if we can show them that there are opportunities here, that there are a lot of, very interesting places to work, and they can thrive, that would be a great opportunity as well.
I completely agree.
Just, I had a question regarding, I guess, duration. Are we looking at this as a one-day job shadowing? Okay,
Yes.
exclusively.
Yes, one day.
Okay. If the opportunity arose to maybe be 2 days, is that something that the district would be open to?
Well,
or-
I think, again, we have to balance that with the attendance piece. We firmly believe that students do best when they're in school. we also understand and value these other opportunities as well. So if there were opportunities where, instead of a full day, if it could be, a release towards the end of the day where maybe they're with their job shadow from, 12 o'clock to 5 rather than the entire day, something along those lines. I think this is something that, again, if it is approved and it's something that we move forward, I could certainly see evolving over time, that where we start with it probably will not be where we end with it, and that over time it will develop and take some different turns, always keeping in mind what's in the best interest of our students.
Okay. And I think, again, you're still working through the logistics of it, so I could imagine an opportunity where maybe one household knows another household, and it's like, oh, I'm interested in what that father or mother or
Sure.
whatever does, for a living. From a geographic location, are we kind of limiting this to just the immediate area? Or are we
No.
saying somewhere on Long Island,
That really wasn't within any kind of, part of the initial discussion. I mean,
Okay.
I think just logistically, it probably will, at least initially limit itself to a fairly, small proximity. But I think overall, no. I think, the day is theirs. And if, an opportunity were to arise where, it was a job in the city or somewhere in Nassau County, if they want to avail themselves of that and get up at 5 in the morning to be at work by, 7:30, 8 o'clock.
part of the job sometimes.
Exactly. And again, that experience of commuting and seeing what that's like, I think all of that is really valuable, not just the actual work atmosphere, but what it takes. There's I'd be great to work in the city. Okay, you want to commute 4 hours a day? Yeah, see what you like.
Right.
So I don't think really limiting that on a strict 5 or 10 mile radius is really necessary. Again, I think if the student and the parent and their families are able to do it, then we would certainly be open to it.
Sounds great.
There's advantages obviously to building close relationships, but there are advantages as well to developing relationships further away as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice job on the toolkit. I like it.
Thank you.
Just to follow up to my questions, do you foresee, is everything going to go through your office? Like, I'm just curious, who is managing?
Yeah, I think so. Myself in collaboration with the
Okay.
guidance counselor,
Okay.
that would really kind of be the point person. But yeah, between the four of us, that would really kind of be it. Well, again, with a heavy onus on the students themselves.
Yeah.
We would certainly have some responsibility in terms of the management of it. But again, the student is going to have to do the majority. The student and the family are going to have to do the majority of the heavy lifting.
Mhm. Makes sense.
You can almost envision it too extending, say, to the weekend, if there was a particular industry or person that the student wanted to shadow. I love how this provides the format and the pathway to explore kind of with limitless opportunity.
Sure.
For sure.
Over a school break, over a
Mhm.
summer vacation.
Mhm.
Again, it's the foot in the door that creates that initial kind of relationship, and then it really could go any number of directions to where there are many companies that have these larger internship programs for seniors in high school, for freshmen in college. So again, anything that would allow our students to kind of be in that mix and have those opportunities, I think is certainly something well worth exploring.
Is there any thought to maybe doing outreach to the communities? So, if you weren't listening to this,
Yes. Yeah, and I think Mr. Bull mentioned that, and that we will certainly do that in terms of reaching out. We have a network already. I know that there will be a meeting right here, I believe, 2 nights, Thursday night, where Dr. Pagliucelli will be having a conversation with some local business leaders, where I'm quite sure this conversation will continue. And again, by kind of indirect word of mouth and with intentionality, we can certainly get that word out there. We can begin to advertise it. We can talk about it again. If and when this is approved, we can certainly begin to put it out. Either through Syntax, on Parent Square,
Mhm.
use Yeah, use the resources, that we have.
Make sure Bobby's going to write a letter. We're going
Right?
to help him with
You
that.
didn't know what you were getting.
He's actually got the letter. He has the letter written. I've seen it. So,
It's incredible. I was going to
already
say
written, so-
before, I mean, Mrs. Constant must be bursting with pride just thinking that.
He learned it
you
all in
know,
second grade.
From a personal.
It's all coming
Oh,
to
and Miss
culmination.
Shipman. So we
Wow.
we went from, you know, personal narratives to vignettes to drafting proposals for an entire program. It's really commendable. Thank you, Bobby, for making this investment, one that I hope you get to benefit from in your senior year. But I also commend Eileen Sheridan because to have vision and investment in something that you're going to leave a legacy behind, something you can't personally enjoy, I appreciate that so much. Yes.
Something about, so the whole job sharing, I applaud my friend Deidre here, because when Eileen was applying to master's programs, OT schools that offer, 4+2, whatever, we realized on the application it said she needed 20 hours of shadowing. And I
Wow.
was like, I don't know OT, who's going to let me walk into a nursing home or a school? So Deidre school in East Islip has the shadowing program. She reached out, got Eileen two shadowing, one in a Lindenhurst school, just kids, where she got to work with young kids for, and then the other one was at Sayville in the nursing home, where Eileen got to experience an older opportunity to see. And at the end, I said to Eileen, so what did you think? Which one do you like? And she said, I enjoyed both experiences.
Wow.
She said, you see them when they're little, and then you see them when they're older, and they share their life story. She's like, everything came full circle for me. And we appreciated it because she said, yes, I want to apply to these programs, because we were at the point like, okay, you're going to get accepted, and then year two, you're like, this is not what I thought it was going to be. But so she did over 20 hours
Wow.
with these people who have kept in touch with her. Give us a call if you need more hours. So it might just be a kid who says, oh, wow, I need 10 hours to even apply for the program. And a program like this will definitely give our students that opportunity. She was able to do it over the summer.
It's amazing.
But like I think Katie said, like, yeah, you could do one day and then, oh, yeah, you want to work for the summer, you want to, it's a tremendous opportunity for our students to do that. So I thought Bobby also for sticking with it. And,
Absolutely. Look,
Thank
we all
you.
advocate, to your point, Mary, right? We all advocate for our children and our students. This is one of those opportunities that may help our students in the future, right, to decide what they want to be, and I think that's what we're all here to do, see great outcomes for our kids. So, I don't know if we need a formal approval, Mr. Poole, on this program, or what you're looking from the board or support of. Is it just a nod to say yes, let's go?
Just a nod that it is an excused absence. We will get to the.
Excused absence.
We
We're
will,
giving the
we
kids
will,
a-
we will
we're
get to
looking
the
the other way.
attendance policy this
The
year.
attendance
But
policy.
it does fall under the current attendance
Fair enough.
policy, but when we revise the attendance policy later this year, we
Great.
will specifically add job shadowing as an excused absence per district protocols. And then that's where the
That's
board
great.
will definitely give its final stamp.
Amazing.
Very good.
So are you expecting a line out your door for,
I'm
principal?
I'm honestly not sure. I think to begin with,
No, I meant for you, Mr. Puglisi. Like,
Oh.
principal shadowing
No,
your
no,
job. Yeah.
I'm open for shadows. I'm open for some job shadowing.
Jerry's hoping for superintendent shadowing.
Awesome.
yeah, no, I think they have a pretty decent idea, and probably don't want to have any part of it at all. But no, I mean, when I started out, I didn't have any gray hair, and now all of a sudden I look like this. So no. But thank you very much for your time, and thank
No,
you,
this
Bobby,
is
as
great.
well.
Bobby, thank you
Eileen,
again.
thank you if you're watching.
Yeah,
We
no,
really
absolutely.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you. I think as the year goes on, Bobby, we're going to invite you back just to give us an update on what job
Yes.
shadowing program you took advantage of, to hear how it's going. That would be great. Thank you again for the update. Terrific. All right, moving on. Votes and resolutions. For this first one, I'm going to do the approval of the August 29th, 2023 regular public meeting minutes. May I get a motion? Henry, second Jim. All in favor? I have to abstain on this one, so it'll be 6-0.
601?
Yeah, 601, thank you, Katie. Yes. The next up would be the approval of the policy second reading to adopt as presented. Stephanie, do you have to do anything on this one? No? Okay.
Not unless you want another 10-minute memo.
I think we would. We would love to hear a recap, right?
I don't think it was 10 minutes.
It was 10 minutes.
A bit of a recap. All right, very good. So let's get a motion on the approval for second reading. May I get a motion? Megan, second Jim. Any discussion or questions? All in favor to vote? Okay, 7-0. Okay, moving forward, I've got Board of Education resolutions. I think I have 2 of these, right?
2.
So 1042 and then 043?
Yeah.
No, just one.
No, that's curriculum.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Trent.
Sorry, I'm looking at the
No,
paper
you're good.
copy. So just 043, right?
042.
042.
042, my apologies. Okay, so let's get a motion, please. Katie, second Henry. Any discussion or questions? All in favor? 7-0. Okay. So it's 043, oh, that's curriculum instruction, that's what was cut off on this one. Okay, thank you. So on curriculum and instruction, 043, may I get a motion, please? Megan, second Katie. All in favor? 7-0. Next up, personnel. I get a motion to approve personnel. Katie, second Jim. Any discussion or questions on personnel?
I just wanted to thank the community members who stepped up to fill the need for,
Absolutely, for the food.
for the food service, and for Mr. Hayward's going above and beyond attending, try to,
Yeah,
those
to
meetings
stir up-
and stir
yeah,
up
some
interest.
interest in the
Mhm.
positions. Mr. Paul, I don't know if you want to say anything before we approve it about the food service, or?
Well, I do. I'm happy to share that. I know I sent a letter at the start of the school year saying, hey, watch out, we may not have enough staff for a lunch program. We were very fortunate, as Ms. Anderson pointed out, to have some local community members step up for some of the part-time roles. We have a full-time person. We are still just staffed, maybe a position or two short, but I do expect to, all the schools are opening, kitchens are open, cafeterias are full, and then adding the Miller Avenue program at some point in September for parents to order. Start with cold lunches, get the system back up and running. It's a transport, it's a van, it's the Cambros. Once we get the system down with the cold lunches, expand to the hot lunches at some point in the fall as well, and keep looking for staff. We certainly could use a few more staff, so everybody's listening. We do need food service workers still,
Yep.
subs, part-time, full-time, that would be great, so.
Thank you, Jerry.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Poole. Okay, so may I get a motion to approve personnel? Thank you, Katie. Second, Jim. All in favor? 7-0. Any communications? No communications. For discussion, we have a policy development timeline. I think from the previous meeting, we had a discussion underway around our timeliness and what the process was around our policy development. I know that myself, Katie, and Megan are on the policy committee. I thought it'd be fair to kind of do a recap for the rest of the board and the community on what we're all working on and what we're trying to strive toward. I think the work that's being done, and it came as a result of the readings that were on the previous meeting and then second reading tonight on the policies. In general, our district, one of the main focuses and governance that we've got as a board is to look over school policies. Our policy was not updated since 2009, I think is the timeline I've been given. And we have undertaken an effort in the last over 2 years to take New York State School Board's recommended policies, look at our own policies, and decide what we want to keep as far as local quote-unquote control, and looking at NYSBA's policies and amending and updating our entire policy to appear on our board docs, so electronically instead of in a manual and an electronic format today, right? That's right. In addition to new policies, like Henry said, when new laws and new things are passed, we're receiving those and obviously adding those to policy. So I didn't know if there was an opportunity for board members, anyone want to have discussion on the process, what we're all working on and what's happening. So I'll throw it out there.
I just want to add, I know it's a big undertaking, the pacing that we're engaged in, but I think it's the most local control we have as a board to really represent the law, the policies throughout how it impacts the kids in our schools. So I think it's important to keep that cadence, and I think Ms. Rose was bringing up just kind of balancing board meetings, and if we were reviewing that many policies, maybe one less presentation or something like that. He can speak for himself, but I think as a whole, looking at the whole board meeting and the time frame, I think it was a bigger conversation.
Yeah, listen, I've been on the policy committee for 9 years, so I certainly understand the.
Why the hell didn't you update
it? I certainly understand the amount of work it takes, you know, and Megan is 100% correct. It's just a balance, you know, at the board meetings, you know, it's, you know, we are required to do a lot of stuff, a lot of things, and, you know, when we all work full-time jobs, so sometimes it's a little bit difficult, that's all.
No, absolutely.
Fair.
And I think we all want to be conscious of both, Rob, and respectful of our time, making sure we all, you know, feel like we're contributing to the policies. And I think at the end of the day, the only emphasis I want to continue with is trying to get this done this year, just so it's updated and we feel like we all have a common place, common artifact, if you will, for us to all turn to. And then as new policies or changes come up, we can just work from that. So it'll be a tough year to get through them, but I think as a board, I think we're committed. I know the policy committee is, and with all your help, we'll get through it, so.
Did we talk about, like, projecting what was coming down the pike in terms of the policies, maybe, so that they have a better idea?
Yeah, as we've been doing, we'll keep the board updated in board docs in the policy section, and then on a Friday update on where policy is heading. I don't think we're going to get to that volume again. That was quite a set from over the
Summer.
last part of June, July, and August. But we do have a plan, parse them out. Part of the process is administrative review recommendations for merging numbers, merging policies. Part of the process is renumbering our policies as well. So a lot of the work isn't necessarily substantial policy changes, it's just sort of merging policies and renumbering, getting them to a point where Mr. Sheridan mentioned where we're complete. And then after this year, it really should be 20 policies a year that laws have changed or regulations have changed, and the policy committee should generally go through about 20 policies to update those policies and then check them. And after then 2 years from now, we should take the policy manual in just sections and do you know, sections 0 through 2000 in 1 year, get it done, and then revamp it so there's a cycle and a system in place so that a board down the road isn't left with you know, 800 pages of policy that need to be updated from 2009. So we should be in a great spot.
Future board members, you're welcome.
You're welcome. Yeah, I do want to say I appreciate this board. We work so well together, and we have made it our goal to accomplish this task of completing the policy manual, more than just a synthesis of NYSBA policy and our current policy. The work is to ensure that our policies reflect our current practice and procedure, and so it requires the input and direction from a variety of individuals depending on the policy manual, and you know, I think we all appreciate that effort, and certainly you know, it would be nice when it's done.
Is there a way, I know, Tom, we spoke about this briefly, about if policies is getting a new number, that's the first read and it's accepted, to move those through quicker instead of having it, I mean, if nothing's changing inside the policy but a number, can we get those through quicker?
Yeah, so in that memo that I read.
I think that was your recommendation.
Yep,
right?
Yeah.
Yes,
That's right,
so
Stephanie.
I would just pull those policies out that are being renumbered and just generally state these policies are being renumbered from district policy number to NYSBA policy number. That way, at least on public record, it's there, but without the description of it. So it should make it go a little bit quicker. As Mr. Poole said, that it won't be as lengthy because of the fact that there was so much work being done over the course of those 3-4 months. So going forward, you may have like 3 policies or 4 policies that are just being renumbered, and that'll be kind of the same summary, if you will, as policies that are being abolished. So very, very, very brief.
No, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think it's important to all be clear on what we're looking to do, so thanks for that discussion. Anyone else have anything to add? Okay, great. I'm going to move on to the second discussion item, which was to have a discussion about turf fields, potential of a second turf field project. Just for context, the district maintains and has a space and facilities advisory committee, if you will, that meets to go through, we do building condition surveys, and in those building condition surveys, there are potential projects that are brought up that either require maintenance or potentially capital projects. And I think the process that we've got is that usually meets at the end of September, correct me, Mr. Poole if I'm wrong, and from there, a list is developed and then either brought back to the committee or back to the board to look at in terms of what we foresee. And then Mr. Poole also at the same time with administration creates a capital plan looking out in the next few years so we could decide where do we want to make investments based on either our current capital needs, or capital requirements that these projects demand. So I'll turn it out to the board to have a discussion on turf fields. Anyone?
I know that Mr. Lewis had brought it up and sent an email about it. I know Mr. Smith did as well. I certainly agree that there should be some discussion in reference to adding an additional turf field. Our local our local district, neighboring districts, are starting to go that way. Some of them already have additional turf fields. So I think, for benefit of our students and our student athletes, I think and the community, because the community uses those fields as well, I think it's something that we should really consider. Or at least seriously consider. I mean, we're certainly not voting on it this evening, but
Right.
I think it's something that, we should certainly take a look into.
Thank you, Rob. Mike, you have anything? Jim?
So I'd be open to that. I think it's important to look at all of the district needs and also look at the priority of the needs in terms of if there's a need in terms of something that has to be replaced for the safety of the structures of the building and spacing to educate our students, K-12. I think we need to look at all of the needs and then really look at the funds available and the capital project projections that kind of have been set forth as suggestions. I just want to look at it from a global standpoint and look at all of our needs. So just to look at a turf field by itself, I think we would be missing something while not looking at the whole picture.
Your point is well taken, and I certainly agree. It should be a global perspective, but I do think that should be something that's on the table at some point.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yep, so my purpose of making sure that it got brought up was because of the interest of some of our trustees, so I just wanted to make sure this got out onto the record tonight, and obviously is.
And
yep.
community members.
And the
'cause-
community, obviously,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
of course, excuse me, Rob, thank you. But in general, I just think it's important that we all continue to plan ahead and look at what our district needs are, and this certainly should be something up for consideration, so.
Yeah, and I know I brought it up a couple of years ago, and I know we had a great presentation last year by BBS with some options. It's funny, I'm thinking about, when we started the bond with Rob, it was in this library about almost 10 years ago when we sat down and started going, and Henry joined the bond, committee later that summer. But, we've done, new theater seating, we've done cafeterias, we did a turf, tennis courts. We've continued to keep pushing and keep moving forward. And I think that's something with the outdoor seating and the new amphitheater, the wrestling room, the fitness center.
The list goes on.
It goes on. And I think, from volunteering and spending a lot of time in the concession stand, you see how the community comes around the turf field. And we host a lot of Long Island championships and regional events. And I'm not saying we're stagnant, but I can see us providing more. And like Rob said, there are a lot of community members that feel the same way. Athletics is a big part of this community and district, and we excel in state championships. So it's not just about having a nice shiny new turf. It's about having more opportunities for these kids to practice and to compete on. So that's where I stand, and I hope that this board and the space and facilities really gives it a really hard look and consideration.
I want to mention that we had a comprehensive review with the building condition survey. The actions taken since this was first brought to the table a couple years ago have been very comprehensive, and that work is underway. Definitely has been pushed in a direction in which a global perspective, like Megan shared, is the vision for the next space and facilities meeting. My hope is that that advisory committee is able to look at that condition survey, which is now available, the district's long-term strategic plan, and the long list of maintenance projects, the long list of needs, wants, everything in the middle, and then we'll be able to have the research and vision of our community summarized in a way where we can take a look at how to allocate the funding.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you for that. Anyone else? Are all good on that? Okay, great. So I think we're all set to adjourn. May I get a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting? Rob, second Jim. All in favor? 7-0. Good night, everyone. Thank you.